Did you know that 65% of SAP S4Hana ERP implementations fail to achieve their objectives? Do you know why? It is because of a lack of effective change management, which led to resistance and low adoption of the SAP ERP program. My name is Obi Iradion, and I am a senior change management consultant. And in this video, I will show you the exact methodology that I used at organizations like Apple, Microsoft, Yale University, and many organizations to drive real change management adoption, including increasing change successes for SAP S4HANA. And if you need change management help, partnership, or you have questions, you can contact me directly. See the link below. There are three key outcomes for you today. And so please take notes. You can also pause this video from time to time to take screenshots. Outcome number one is to equip you with the latest change management methodology for SAP S4HANA implementation. Outcome number two is to provide you and empower you with actionable insight and best practices that increase my success in delivering change management for SAP S4HANA implementation. And then outcome number three is to prepare you with how-to knowledge for delivering change management. Are you ready? All right, let us hit the ground running. Here is the portfolio of best change management deliverables that you will want to deliver for rolling out SAP S4HANA within an organization. As part of today's video, I will go into details for every single one of them. But at a high level, it involves conducting change assessments, delivering communications, change strategies and plans, engaging with leaders, coaching and training impacted users, and tracking change successes. To increase your success, you will want to apply this four-phase change management approach that is based on best change practices for rolling out SAP S4HANA ERP solutions. You want to start by assessing readiness for the SAP S4HANA rollout. And then you move into the design phase where you build your change management strategy, the detailed plans, and the assets for delivering change management for the SAP S4HANA implementation. And then you move into the implement phase, and this is where we implement the change deliverables and we track adoption. And finally, we sustain and we reinforce the change, embedding new behaviors into day-to-day operations to help people sustain using the new SAP S4HANA. Each phase is time-bound and scalable, meaning we can apply this four-phase model to a small SAP implementation pilot, or we can expand it enterprise-wide with the same structured cadence. Let us quickly go over the change deliverables for phase one. There are 6 change readiness assessments we normally need to do to really understand how ready impacted users are for the SAP S4HANA implementation. Think of these 6 assessments as your early diagnostic. Imagine taking your car to a mechanic shop. The mechanic normally does a series of assessments to identify what the issues are before they start fixing your car. This is similar to what you will be doing for your change readiness for your SAP S4HANA implementation. The findings from your 6 readiness assessments will tell you exactly where to focus your entire change management efforts to increase adoption for the SAP S4HANA implementation. Let us now double click into each of these 6 assessments. The first one is to conduct a current state and cultural assessments. You want to understand the organization's culture, leadership alignment, and change maturity, as well as the cultural readiness. Basically, what you are trying to find out is this: how open are impacted groups to change? If you find groups that are resistant to change, you need to know that upfront. That way, you can take that into consideration when building your change management strategies and plans. How do you do this? You can use surveys, and you can also have focus groups where you talk to a few individuals within each impacted department to identify whether they are receptive to change. At the end of the day, here is what you want to answer. Is the culture within each impacted organization ready to accept, embrace, and adopt a data-driven transformational SAP S4HANA implementation? The second assessment is to do a change impact assessment. You want to understand what is changing, who is impacted, what is the level of impact by function or by role. You want to have sessions with the project team, with the business analyst, as well as other SMEs to gather all of this information. And you can use the templates that I am currently sharing on my screen that includes columns for entering the division, the department, level of impact, number of impacted people, if you have that information, the current state versus the future state, and also what input is there for change management. When it comes to training requirements, communications, and engagements, you can enter all of those information into this template. I will provide you with a link to our change management library of free resources. That includes 20 to 30 free resources, including most of the resources I will be showing you today as part of today's session. You also want to identify resistance that may derail the SAP S4HANA implementation. You can use the free resistance management template that I am sharing on my screen. You want to capture the first name or the group name. In situations, you might identify individuals are resisting or might resist. You might also identify entire groups or departments. So go ahead and enter all of that information here. You also want to map your stakeholders. Stakeholder mapping ensures everyone impacted by the SAP S4HANA rollout is identified and engaged appropriately. You can also use the free stakeholder mapping templates that I will be providing to you today. And if you take a look at my screen, you will see what that template looks like, right? So the type of stakeholder, their first name, which group are they part of, what is their interest level? How excited are they that your organization is rolling out SAP S4HANA? And what is the ability to negatively or positively influence or impact your program? You want to capture all of this there. That way you can better determine the right stakeholder engagement strategy. Now, key stakeholders that are often impacted by SAP ERP implementation include finance, procurement, supply chain, operations, human resources, IT, sales and customer service, data and analytics, manufacturing, compliance, and risk, just to name a few. So you want to take that into consideration when doing your various readiness and change impact assessments. You also want to meet with the impacted groups to gather enablement needs. So you can take a screenshot of what I am currently sharing on my screen, and you can use this to have meetings with selected individuals within the impacted divisions. And you want to literally ask them, how does your department or your group like to receive communications? How do they like to receive engagement or briefing sessions? How do they like to receive training? How do they like to be engaged? This is important for you to keep in mind. And um, as we progress with this video, we are going to come back to how important it is for you not to miss this step of gathering enablement needs as assessment. When we talk about the success of your program, this is one of the critical factors. For now, let's move on. You also want to deliver a readiness survey and also conduct short or small interviews. With the survey, you want to measure baseline awareness. How aware are people about the SAP S4Hana? How aware are they of the benefits to them? How aware are they of what's in it for me or what's in it for them? What's their desire to support the SAP S4HANA implementation? What kind of knowledge and confidence do they have about SAP, the SAP platform? There is a survey that I will provide to you at the end of this video for you to use to gather this readiness, to do your readiness assessment. Now, before we dive into phase two, as I mentioned earlier, if you need help delivering change management for any project, including SAP implementation, do reach out to me, see the link below. Phase two is the design and develop phase for your change management program for supporting an SAP S4HANA implementation. In this phase, you will focus on designing your change strategies and developing your key change management plans and deliverables, as well as assets and materials to educate, to communicate, and also to guide people to adopt the SAP S4HANA rollout. The 7 strategies on my screen cover all angles, from communication strategy, engagement strategy, managing resistance strategy, strategies for supporting and onboarding sponsors and leaders, strategy for your change champion network, strategy for tracking and measuring change successes, and also strategy for training, educational deliverables, as well as learning deliverables. All of these cover the full scope of strategies for any SAP S4HANA rollout. There is a strategic playbook that I have used to successfully increase my success drastically whenever I am rolling out change management as a consultant for SAP, as well as for Oracle Cloud types of ERP projects. I will give you access, free access to this strategic playbook. I have added this strategic playbook to our library of free resources. I will include the link at the end of this video so that you can know where to access this library of free resources, including this strategic playbook. For now, let me show you what it looks like. When you get into the strategic playbook template, which is in PowerPoint, you will see this cover slide, which is the first slide. You click and then you get to this strategic playbook overview slide. And this slide provides a quick summary of the recommended strategies that you want to consider to help increase change adoption for any project that you might be implementing. As we go through this strategic playbook, I will highlight some key information that you need to know. The first one is when you access and you are using this template playbook, you want to ensure that you include impacted audience. Which groups or personas or job roles will be impacted by your project? You also want to include the level or the severity of impact and ensure that you socialize this slide with stakeholders and also leadership. Your communication strategies, you can leverage the ones that we currently have here on the template, but we recommend that you implement a hybrid communication approach that involves a top-down and a bottom-up approach. What exactly is this? With the top-down, and here is a visual representation, with the top-down, the change and program team are providing communications to leaders and managers and asking them to cascade those communications to end users. For the bottom up, it starts from the bottom. The change and the program team, including the champions, are sending up communications to everyone. That's a bottom up. And so your approach is to use both of them, which is why we call it a hybrid approach. It is very effective to increase change management successes. Within the playbook, you will notice we have also included the channels that you can use to communicate out your change project. This is a template, meaning you have to take this and make changes to it to ensure it matches your project and also your organization. Another strategy included here is the engagement strategy. And here you will notice we propose you do a two-way communication and engagement approach. What is the difference between communication and engagement? Well, engagement really is the interactive component of communicating a change. It involves doing briefings, conducting meetings, doing roadshows, giving people the opportunity to ask questions in real time. So you want to include what we are looking at here on this slide as part of your engagement strategies. And here we are actually providing visual views of the different channels you will want to consider using as part of your strategies for engaging impacted users. So there is a kickoff event, there are roadshows, town halls, focus meetings, and you also have interactive workshops, conduct focus groups, feedback sessions, engage your champions with regular meetings, conduct drop-in support calls, do virtual Q&A sessions, and also have stakeholder roundtables. Now, obviously, it might not be possible for you to do every single one of these, which is fine. The goal is we are presenting you with a portfolio of options. It is up to you to determine which one or two or three or four you have the bandwidth and the capability to implement. Another strategy included here is how to mitigate resistance. You want to apply a proactive and a reactive approach. A proactive approach is identifying where resistance will come from and then developing the plans to ensure it doesn't come up. Reactive is when you identify resistance and then you have to mitigate that. This strategic playbook also includes strategies for engaging with leaders and also sponsors. And you can see here, we have included respective activity types, cadence, how often, and also the purpose. And then there is also strategies for your change champion network, as well as strategies for your training deliverables. Here we've included different strategies to help increase your success. Now, once again, that was a quick overview of the strategic playbook, which is free. And the goal is you take this template and you customize it to match your purpose, your project, and your organization. After finalizing your strategies using the free strategic playbook that I will be providing to you, the next step is to develop your change management plans. There are multiple types of change management plans you will have to put together, including your change impact and readiness plan, your communication and engagement plan. Together, all of these plans will ensure that the SAP S4Hana implementation is not just planned, but executed in a structured, measurable way. The goal is consistency, accountability, and sustained adoption across the organization. This slide here outlines the different plans for you to create, as well as what you should focus your plans around. The change impact and readiness plan, your focus should be: how will impact be addressed? For groups that have a higher level of impact from the SAP ERP implementation, you will want to deliver a more enhanced change management deliverables. For groups that have low level impact, you want to provide lesser change management support. Your communication and engagement plan, your focus should be how and when to communicate. How will you communicate? It includes what channels should you use to communicate, who should be sending out the communications, and when to communicate. Your change management communications should be aligned to the project milestones. So once again, take a screenshot of this screen. That way you can make references to it when developing your respective SAP S4Hana change management plans. Something else you also want to develop and socialize is what I have on my screen. It is a holistic change roadmap, and it basically sequences the communication, training, and reinforcement activities to align with the SAP S4HANA project timeline. Leadership will be expecting to see this all-in-one view. So that's why I said you want to develop and socialize. Socialize this view with leadership. Socialize it with your project team. Socialize it with the project sponsors. Socialize it with project stakeholders. You also want to develop the main communication assets to drive awareness and engagement during the SAP S4HANA rollout. You will use Invite for kickoff sessions, onboarding, and training reminders. You will use emails for updates, get ready, countdowns, go live types of email communications. You will use newsletters to maintain momentum and keep everyone engaged. Something else that I do as a change management consultant to help increase my success when delivering change management for ERP implementations is tips and tricks right here at the bottom left of my screen, tips and tricks. These are basically short soundbite videos that could be 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, really short videos that explain to people the value of SAP S4HANA. They allow users to see value faster in using SAP S4HANA. Okay. You also want to develop materials you will use to onboard, engage, and equip your champions that will be supporting your SAP S4HANA implementation. These materials are referenced on my screen. It includes the putting together the kickoff deck that you will use to onboard your change champions. I also include some of these free templates for you to use. That's going to be the link that I provide to you at the end. That takes you to our library of free resources. The champion onboarding deck, I've included a template. You also want to put together a change champion toolkit that helps champions understand what to discuss with their team, helps them understand their role as a champion for SAP S4 rollout, as well as additional resources. You also want to put together a change champion plan that will allow them to really understand what are the deliverables they should be delivering. For example, helping you cascade communications. In addition, you should create materials to onboard and support your leaders as well as your sponsors. You want to include a leadership engagement guide that allows the impacted leaders to really understand the value of the SAP S4Hana implementation. You also want to include a leadership playbook that provides leaders with talking points as well as communications that you need them to cascade. Take a look at the bottom right of my screen. You see where it says Leader Action Roadmap? What exactly is this? Well, first of all, it is something that is very simple for you to put together in one slide. Just match what you see on this screen. It is basically a roadmap that you provide to leaders that clarifies to them what is expected of them before, during, and after go live. Okay? You also want to develop persona-based or job function-based materials that includes videos, how-to guides, FAQs, and other job aids. You also want to create a centralized hub. When I do change management consulting for clients, I normally create a website using SharePoint that will have all the change management resources, as well as everything people will need. They're all uploaded to that centralized hub. Depending on what your organization is using, if your organization does not use SharePoint, you can use Teams, or you can use any internal intranet that your organization uses for websites. Okay, it is a very critical component of increasing adoption of SAP S4HANA implementation. Now, before we go on, if you are finding value in this video, do give this video a like, as that helps me a lot, and it also lets me know that you found this video useful. You can also subscribe to be kept updated on useful content like this one that we are delivering to you today. All right, so now we move on to phase 3 of your change management program for supporting SAP S4HANA rollout. Phase 3 is the implement and manage adoption phase. This phase focuses on you executing your communications, your engagement, your training, and your enablement strategies to drive change management adoption of the SAP S4HANA rollout. During this phase, you will deliver targeted communications through emails, town halls, newsletters, videos, and the enablement website that we just discussed. Keep this in mind to keep your messages transparent and also consistent. You can use the free communication plan that I have on my screen to use for your own purposes. You can just change the sample data that I have included here. On the first column, you want to enter your communication audience. Who should receive communication? What type of communication should they receive? How frequent should they get that communication? What's the priority? What's the delivery channel? Who delivers the communication? What is the objective of the communication? You also want to activate your change champions during this implement phase. Conduct a kickoff session to onboard the champions on the roles and responsibilities, on what they need to know, on the roadmap, as well as how you plan to support them. And throughout the engagement, you want to make sure you are keeping your change champions for the SAP S4HANA engaged. You can do that using regular meetings, office hours, and also I recommend that you create channels using Teams, Slack, or Zoom that you can be dropping messages to keep the channels, to keep the change champions engaged. You also want to deliver a white glove leadership onboarding and coaching session. This increases my success whenever I do change management consulting for my clients. It helps leaders understand the benefits of the SAP S4HANA, and it allows them to model the adoption, to be role models. I normally send out an executive outreach email where I let the leader know. I just thank them for their partnership and leadership as we are preparing to roll out the SAP S4HANA implementation. And I let them know that to support them in this role, and to ensure that they have full visibility into what is going on, we are going to be scheduling a 45-minute session. On that email, I include a few bullet points of what the agenda will be. And most importantly, I let the leader know that we will be engaging with their executive assistant to schedule the session. The sessions can be a one-on-one session, or it can be a small group session. And the goal is to do this session for every leader that will be impacted by this SAP rollout. So if there are 10 departments that will be impacted, within those 10 departments, there will probably be 2 to 3 or 4 leaders that are within those departments. So times that by 10, that's the number of leaders you want to do this white glove session for. What I do to maximize my bandwidth is, for each department, I have a small group session versus having, for example, 4 sessions for 4 leaders within each department. I just have 1 per department to ensure that I am not stretched too thin. So that's kind of something for you to keep in mind. Here is something else. During a time of change, mid-level and senior level leaders play a critical role in driving change adoption, especially for SAP S4HANA implementation. During SAP S4HANA rollout, we need leaders to play 5 roles in addition to their day-to-day job. Here are the 5 roles. We ask leaders to act as communicators. We ask them to cascade communications that explains why the change matters. We also ask leaders to be advocates. We ask them to demonstrate personal support for the SAP ERP implementation. We also call on leaders to be liaisons to help provide feedback from their department to the change and the project team. We also ask leaders to serve as coaches to guide their department through the change. We also ask leaders to be resistance managers to help identify resistance within their department and pass that over to us so we can help mitigate the resistance. When I do a white glove session, there is, out of that 45 minutes, I normally spend 10 to 15 minutes going over the day in the life exercise. I tell the leader, we use this day in the life use case to help you as a leader connect the dots in regards to how SAP ERP will benefit you personally as a leader and also your department. Here's an example. For today's use case, I am using Rob as our use case individual. Rob leads the sales department. I meet with Rob, and during that 15 minutes out of the 45 minutes that I am delivering the white glove, I tell Rob, I understand that around 8 a.m., here are some of the things that you normally do. And then I show him how SAP S4HANA will help. I use a build slide approach. That way I'm not showing everything at once. After discussing what Rob normally does around 8 a.m. and how SAP S4HANA will help, I now click to build the next section of the slide. And then I say, Rob, around 9:30 a.m., I understand here is what you normally do. You normally analyze the sales pipeline to identify stalled deals. Here is how SAP S4HANA will help. And then here's another one. I click and then we get to 11 a.m. And then I say, around 11 a.m., Rob, here is what you normally do based on my understanding. And here is how SAP HANA will help. And then I continue building the slide until I get to the end of the day. This helps Rob to really connect the value that SAP S4HANA will provide to him. And guess what Rob is going to do? He's now going to communicate this value to his organization, which will increase adoption. You also want to deliver hands-on training as well as rolling out those educational resources that you created. And remember what we discussed about enablement assessment, where you are talking to select individuals within each impacted department and asking them, how does your organization like to receive training? How does your organization like to receive communications? How does your organization like to be supported? Here is where you really apply that knowledge. If an organization likes in-person training, then you want to try to accommodate that. If an organization prefers virtual training, you want to accommodate that. You will see a lot of organizations that prefer both virtual as well as in-person. That way, whoever is not able to attend in person can join virtually. You also want to conduct office hours for everyone. That way, anyone can join and ask questions or seek help. You also want to manage resistance proactively and reactively, and you can use this free resistance management template that I have on my screen. Okay? And then you want to track adoption metrics, like how often people are logging into SAP to use SAP S4HANA. You want to track activities, user usage are things you want to track. So within your department, there is a group. It could be IT, it could be admins, it could be part of the project team that have access to the reporting dashboard for SAP S4HANA. Ask them to give you access. That way you can track how people are using SAP S4HANA. And then you can present that to stakeholders and leaders as part of your regular reporting. So before we move on to phase 4, let us do a quick recap of phase 3. During phase 3, it's all about execution, execution, execution. We rolled out communications. We delivered briefings and engagement. We delivered training. We launched and managed the Change Champion Network. We supported leaders with white glove sessions, and we tracked change adoption. We also managed resistance, and we tracked and addressed concerns early on. And finally, we ensured that we were reporting out on the success of our change management efforts. After rolling out our change management activities and deliverables, we now want to focus on sustaining and reinforcing the change. And for this phase, we start by maintaining the change champion and feedback loops. So you want to ensure you keep your champions and leaders engaged through monthly or quarterly meetings. You also want to continue office hours and user support to ensure you are providing ongoing help and to refresh training as needed. You also want to measure adoption during the sustained phase, right? So continue to track how people are using the SAP platform. Continue to track how engaged people are. And you also want to capture and integrate lessons learned. You also want to reinforce and recognize adoption. So I normally recommend leaders to send out communications that are recognizing top users of the SAP platform. That really goes a long way in increasing excitement and also the feeling of people feeling that they are being recognized. And then you also want to ensure you embed the SAP changes into business as usual operation. Now, let us go over the methodology so you can see everything in one slide. As discussed, we want to start out by conducting 8 change readiness assessments for the SAP S4Hana rollout. We also discussed creating the change strategies and also change management plans, assets, and materials. For the third phase, which is the implement and manage adoption, we discussed implementing the change deliverables and also tracking adoption to support the SAP S4HANA rollout. We also discussed for phase 4, which is the reinforce and sustain phase, to embed new behaviors into day-to-day activities to ensure that the change sticks and that people do not fall back to the old ways of doing things. Here's what is important. Leaders will ask you, how long will this take for you to deliver change management for an SAP S4HANA implementation? My response is it will take 3 to 12 months. It could be less, it could be more. The factors that determine exactly how long it will take is the scope, the scale, and findings from our readiness assessments. Now, something else that I also mentioned is this, and this is very important. When you take these slides and you go communicate to your leadership and your stakeholders, you want to let them know that the 3 to 12 months is really for the people side of change, organizational change management. All the other deliverables that IT, that the project and the program team have to do, like planning, how to configure existing upstream and downstream tools to the new SAP ERP. All of those planning, the design, the development of configurations, the testing, those are not accounted for in your 3 to 12 months. It is important for you to emphasize that to your leaders. But wait, before you go, come back. Let us go over 2 quick questions that a lot of people ask all the time. It is important for you to know these questions and also have the right answers, because your leadership, your stakeholders, and also the project team might be asking you these 2 questions because they really want to know the value of change management. Here's question 1. What is change management for SAP S4HANA implementation? Here's your response. Organizational change management for SAP S4HANA implementation involves applying a structured, repeatable approach that guides how the organization prepares, manages, and reinforces the people side of SAP S4HANA transformation adoption. Change management helps impacted users accept, embrace, and adopt the new SAP S4HANA solution. Here's question 2. Why is change readiness assessment important in SAP S4HANA project? A change readiness assessment is critical in SAP S4HANA projects because it helps identify organizational strengths, risk, and readiness for the SAP adoption. It provides insights into how ready the organization is to successfully adopt the SAP S4HANA implementation. Now, if you need a top change management consultant to help you, to partner with you, don't hesitate to reach out to me. See the link below. You can also find the link to the free readiness assessment survey that I talked about earlier that you can start using right away. Most importantly, though, I've also included the link to the step-by-step guide that includes everything that I just discussed. And I also included one more link, which is the free change management resources library that includes 20 to 30 free resources that you can start using today. And don't forget to like this video, as that lets me know that you have received value from it. You can also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss great content like this one.